Welcome back. Today we enter the old opera house. It is a lovely place. Maybe one day I'll see an opera myself, even though I haven't. Oh, it's just something to put on the bucket list. Anyway, let's get going. So yeah, it's that time in the game where we have references out the wazoo. How much wazoo can you kazoo? That's a question for you Yazoo. Isn't that right? Alright, we start off in the forest and we'll go down... Actually, no, we're going down a street. There'll be a few other buildings before we actually get in said opera house. This is a well-designed level, actually. It might already be my favorite of this bunch. But, you know, there might be better ones. This one's pretty good. Come on. Come on, 5 out of 5 level design. Also, the first time around, I forgot a room, so in this recording, I get to set room. How cool is that? That won't be the first time something like that happens, where there'll just be an optional room that I completely forget about. Because it might have something good, like a power-up I didn't think about. Just something to keep in mind if you see something I don't. Once again, you might see something I don't. It's not that weird. We're going to blow ourselves into the ammo show because Caleb's going to buy some more guns. In addition to his guns that he already has and not has a license for. Wow. And if you get another gun license, word has it that gives you the Guns Akimbo license so you can dual wield. That's how it works in America, right? I don't think so. It would be funny if you had to get pay for a separate license for every single... Like, you have to go to a shooting gallery, pay for all that training for each and every single gun you purchase. You know, if we did that with cars, something tells me people would drive a lot better. In fact, that's something I want to point out right now. If you've been driving for a long time, you need to go back and take a driver's test. I'm serious. You should be freshed up on that. Like, people who work for medicine should always have a CPR training. I'm just saying, might be less car crashes. Explosions, though, those will keep happening. Can't really get an explosive license, because then it would cease to exist. Going down the street with the gas lamp. Gas lamps. Yeah, isn't that funny? How we used to rely on gas lamps instead of electricity. Perhaps if something else based on gas could also be turned into something electrical. Just saying. At least it was better than candles. But still, candles never relied on... candles are still a renewable resource. The fire renewing as it burns itself down to the ground. The menu making references and also just pointing out that zombie blood... This game is less than $4 right now on Steam. So the prices are off. Even if accounting for inflation. I don't know why this happens, which I think might be fixed in source ports, but I noticed that sometimes when voxels are on the ground, it feels like they're going under the floor's hitbox, if that makes any sense. Like, it feels like it's sunk into the ground's perspective, even though it's still basically on the ground. It's confusing to my eyes, as it is an optical illusion, but it only confuses me as I wasn't expecting it. If I see an optical illusion, knowing it's an optical illusion, of course I'm going to figure it out, but when it just happens at random, you're just like, hey, you trying to trick me? When I go to see the show, you got to get the big seats in order to get the keys to that opera house, you see. And the audience has died a long time ago, much like this performance. Word on the street is that I'm getting a new computer. Oh boy! I will be saving it for doing stuff like, I don't know, the medieval. That'd probably be good. But that just means that you can make a lot more requests out of me, which I might be able to meet. So, hopefully, assuming you're not recommending a game that came out this year. No. I think I should be fine with any game made from 2018 and below. After that, I will not promise. That's good enough for me for the next 10 or so years, trust me. Oh, it's mostly because of the stuff I've played in the past 10 years I realized I could have been doing LPs on. But I didn't have the necessary resources to do so, and now I do. By sheer accident. No, actually, this is kind of planned. It's not something I wish to explain, but it's going to happen. So that's cool. I completely forgot about this reflective item power-up because I failed to see it last episode and didn't think there was one. But yeah, it's on top of the grandfather clock. That could have been very useful in that whole shootout I had earlier. Oh well, that happens sometimes. You're not playing a first-person shooter until you don't use the power-up properly anyway. Just like, damn, I got after killing everyone else. Shit, why didn't I see it earlier? That's because games like this are meant to be played over and over again so you can find the best route, especially when you're trying to figure it out. So, yeah. The only trouble with that is the way I play, without doing stuff from like a pistol start or something, is that I have to be mindful of my supplies, or rather my health, Shoot the gun in the face. Get on the stage. Is there really a mime on stage? Are you serious? Right? I don't know how that happened. I don't know. It's making the video longer than it needs to be. I give up. I think the build engine has had enough of my shit and just wanted me dead. It's a lot like early quarter munchers, which are just like, okay, you've lived for too long. Put in another quarter, asshole. Which, by the way, does happen in the Ninja Turtles in Time arcade game. The arcade version. What will happen is after a certain amount of time has passed, I think explosives just drop on you. Especially if you decide not to move while playing the game. Splinter will be like, hey, move on. And it gets larger and gets closer to the screen until finally the game decides, nah, you're not playing. So, yeah. Why did we allow that to happen? I don't know. Nowadays, instead of quarter munchers, we get microtransactions, which is arguably worse. Wow! And, after quarter munchers, before this, we had what some have now called rigged rentals, which is just a blockbuster scheme in which you make a game purposely hard, so you'd end up renting it every week or so in order to find out it doesn't really have that much content. So instead of making the game longer, with more content and more fun, you just make it harder and more of a challenge, not realizing that games are not supposed to be that hard. Although some should be. I think if a game is mentally engaging, the difficulty doesn't really matter to me too much, but, too hard and becomes less an exercise in your brain and more of a reaction thing, which, how much can you do with that unless you're a true-ass speedrunner? More rains! More explosions! I just ran into that one. Very smart. It's okay, I took a heart between the knees. Operation, I'm the doctor for you. Dr. Badass. I've definitely seen Phantom of the Opera, though. Is there a 90s version? I don't know. Anyway, yeah. You may know the Phantom of the Opera story. I'd be surprised if you didn't. In which case, cultural lesson right now, go watch it. Which version, you asked? Well, you could just stick with the original one. I mean, I think there's, like I said, there's a 90s musical one, which is fine. Do I know what the best incarnation is? I don't know. It's a lot like when you watch A Christmas Carol. What's the best Christmas Carol incarnation, do you think? That's a good question. I mean, the Muppets one's pretty good, but I don't think it's the best one. Your mileage may vary on that one. No, not the one with Jim Carrey in it. Although, they did put a lot of effort in that CGI animation, so, okay. I guess I would have had it been done anyway. The next step is to just do live action. Oh yeah, pet peeve, or you know what really grinds my gears? When someone's like, okay, we're going to make a live action version of this, cartoon movie, and then use the CGI anyway. That's not how that works. No, seriously, that is what ends up happening. You just end up using so much CGI, you may as well just made the 3D cartoon version, which you should just be totally upright as. I'm just saying, it's kind of hard to do that. I mean, we're trying it now recently. I've noticed we've done CGI. I don't know what the CGI equivalent of rotoscoping is, but we've been doing it. Oh, yeah. Gamer's note. I actually like the two Sonic movies. I can't really say that they're Oscar-worthy, but they're not bad at all. So, I mean, if you have some spare time, watch it with a friend or something. Don't watch it by yourself. I mean, you can watch it by yourself, but I guess it's one of those 4 out of 5 things. at worst 3 out of 5. But you know, I think the reason I praise it is because it turns out video game movies can respect the source material while also doing their own thing. You know, as crazy as that sounds, you know, we wish the Mortal Kombat movies worked that way. Although, actually, you know what? The latest Mortal Kombat movie is quite good with the source material. I enjoyed the fuck out of that one. I should go watch that one again. That movie was so great. Now, to say it didn't need... I don't know if it needed to introduce a new character, per se, but it did, you know, go and... I think it was the only, like... I think it's the only movie / TV show of Mortal Kombat to realize Scorpion is not an antagonist. He just kind of exists as a wild card for the most part, and he has his moments. He's just pissed off at the entire world, mostly. So, I'm glad they at least did that. You know, any other character discrepancy I could have overlooked, but you remember the biggest one, which, not to mention the whole, like, lampshading of, you know, how would, you know, a ninja from China, aka Sub-Zero, be able to talk to Scorpion, and Scorpion be like, I don't speak Chinese, idiot. But, you know, thing with that is that I think the way Chinese and Japanese are written used to be similar-ish. Until it wasn't. Did you know there's spiders down here? Whenever I see a web, they always make it an effort to place spiders, so as if to warn you. And usually that also means a possibility of the mother spider herself showing up. Which means I need that rocket launcher. Assuming... I don't think the mother spider is here. But I think she might be here in a higher difficulty, which would make sense. So, keep in mind when you see shit I don't. Oh, you know, one thing this pack does that I don't exactly like? It does something that, I guess Duke Nukem 3D and Shadow Warrior do. So, unlike, you know, Doom or Quake, when you can actually tell when monsters teleport in, they're a bit more subtle with how enemies teleport in. Basically, whenever you're not looking and you go to key points of a map, they will spawn somewhere. This is not good if you like to sequence break. It might ruin the whole level for you. Just pointing that out there. There isn't any real new enemies. I think a lot of new... Yeah, there's a lot of new shit when we get to Postmortem, though, so that'd be fun. In fact, I think I recommend Postmortem. I've heard it's hard. We'll see. I've yet to do it yet, since this recording, but I'm about to do it. So wish me luck. Burn the spiders! Toast the spiders! Put them in your Molotov! Ouchie! Yes, I'm getting so much flare gun ammo, I'm using secondary just as a precaution. Plus the flare gun's not getting enough love, so I'm using it as, like... instead of throwing explosions everywhere. Oh, also, I managed, somewhere between this video and several from now, I've been working in the occasional secondary spray can where I actually throw a little, you know, kind of another explosive type, but it does burning instead of exploding. So I guess it'd be equivalent to thermite that way, in the way it works. But it's also good if you're just out of dynamite for some reason, even though I always have a lot. It's certainly less risky to you, though, if you have to do it in enclosed space, perhaps. Although that's when I break out the Tommy gun and just go crazy with it. And then it's just a matter of, well, I just used 100 ammo in like 10 seconds. Very wasteful gun, I must say. Where are we now, my friends? Also, whoever has been doing the secret counter in these levels, I think messed up their job. Because sometimes I don't get all the secret. It looks like I don't get all the secrets. Trust me, I do. And I'm not just talking about when it doesn't register my secret. I just mean it just doesn't count it, even though it says, you have found a secret. And sometimes there's more secrets available than there are on the counter. And that's a new one on me. Or maybe it wasn't. I think that may have happened some time ago, but it's especially obvious here. I don't know what that's about. I'm sure Sunstorm could attest to that, perhaps, but, you know, they did fine with the level design, so I can give them that. Weird DOS game glitches, I'm here to resolve them. That's what I do. Speaking of weird DOS game glitches, I may decide to do source ports on certain things in the future, depending on the game design itself, and that might have to happen with Spear of Destiny. I see no way of working around that other than manually trying to build the source code with the change in the code that's breaking it from like Borland C for DOS. And I tried doing that once. It didn't really work, even though I was just using a step-by-step guide, and I really just needed to change one line of code. And that was annoying. And the last time someone actually did that, they ended up making Wolf for SDL. Well, there's something before Wolf for SDL, and then they made Wolf for SDL based on that, which eventually they made EC Wolf based on that. So I don't think what's going to happen is going to happen. That's how a lot of source ports start, is just someone trying to clean up the code. And that's usually after the fact if the game is released in much a finished state. But I can see why we weren't focusing on necessarily finishing the state of Wolfenstein 3D, because, one, because of the novelty. Two, because it, at that point, started getting very busy, and it was just like, shit, we gotta come up with more stuff. This is cool. And the other thing is that at that time, in video game history, completionism wasn't really a thing. Neither was being concerned that you couldn't do everything you could possibly do in a game. Just you getting to the end was good enough. So, the fact that I've put those terms on myself now just so I get the most of the experience, well, it means I might have to make some sacrifices for the way I want games to be played. So, yeah. I guess you could say I've already made that sacrifice by playing this game on DOSBox right now. Because, ideally, when you play Blood, for actual real on an actual device, say on like a Pentium, a computer about as powerful as one made in 2002, perhaps, is that the 3DFX Voodoo card is something that kind of picks up the slack. So, emulating software, not a problem. Hardware, kind of more of a problem. See PCM for details on that, and I think that's how I'm going to work out some of these Windows 95 games that I may want to try more if they don't run on Wine, is to try to get PCM to do some of this stuff. And that's just for stuff I remember working. For stuff I don't know about, I have to try it there too, just to be sure I get the authentic experience, even if it would work otherwise. So glad you enjoyed my opera ranting, but we're done. I'll see you next time.